This is Tim Walz. He is Kamala Harris's VP pick for the 2024 election. I wanted to listen to this speech that he gave at Kamala Harris's rally because it is really funny. Just listen to like a few seconds here.
Like all regular people I grew up with in the heartland, JD studied at Yale.
Talking about JD Vance, Trump's VP pick.
Had his career funded by Silicon Valley billionaires, and then wrote a bestseller trashing that community. Come on. That's not what middle America is. And I got to tell you, I can't wait to debate the guy.
Cheer, cheer, cheer. Super excited. Wow, dude, the cheers are so long.
That is if he's willing to get off the couch and show up. So.
That's good. That's hilarious, actually. JD Vance was recently accused of, God, how do I say this in a monetizer-friendly way? Making love to a couch? Is that monetizer-friendly? I think maybe. It's not true, actually, I found out. The rumor is false. It was made up by a guy, just some random Twitter user who wasn't, like, he wasn't trying to, like, spread disinformation. He's just making a joke. But it spread like wildfire, and now everybody thinks that JD Vance makes love to couches.
You see what I did there?
It's fantastic. Anyway, let's listen to the entire, like, thing, his whole, whatchamacallit, his whole speech or whatever at her rally, and see what else he had to say. While we listen, we're going to play some Metroid Zero Mission. It should just be in the background, won't bother you too much, you never played before. But, yeah, let's listen.
Welcome the next Vice President of the United States, Tim Walz.
Kind of interesting that he's, like, vying for her position, right?
Wow. Thank you. Wow. Thank you, Philadelphia. Thank you, Madam Vice President, for the trust you put in me, but maybe more so, thank you for bringing back the joy.
Instead of the hate, I assume, is what he means. And totally, absolutely.
I'm thrilled to be on this journey with you and Doug, this incredible journey. And Pennsylvania, I know you know this, but my God, what a treasure you have in Josh Shapiro.
I don't know Josh Shapiro very well. He's the governor, I believe, of Pennsylvania, right?
Holy hell, can this guy bring the fire?
You mean holy heckers, language, good sir.
He can bring the fire. This is a visionary leader. Also, I have to tell you, everybody in America knows when you need a bridge fixed, call that guy.
I don't understand the context, but I'm sure it was hilarious.
And I think sometimes we forget and you see people a little one-dimensional, but seeing a guy who cares so deeply about his family, a man with compassion, vision, and I'll have to tell you this, I know this from experience, there is no one you would rather go to a Springsteen concert in Jersey with than him, than that guy. Roots.
Not sure I understand that one, but okay.
And I can't wait for all of you and America to get to know my incredible wife, Gwen, a 29-year public school educator.
That's awesome. I love that.
Don't ever underestimate teachers.
Dude, I was so close to losing that.
And our two beautiful kids, Hope and Gus. I couldn't be prouder to be on this.
Hope and Goss? Hope and Goss? I mean, Hope is kind of a halfway common name, I suppose. Not a normal one, but a common one. Goss! What the hell does Goss mean?
This ticket.
I'm sorry, Gus. Gus. Okay, Gus is more normal. I was freaked out for a second. Sorry. My mistake. It was Gus. That's okay. Those names are normal.
And to help Vice President Harris become what we all know is very, very good for us to think about. Next President of the United States of America. From her first day as a prosecutor, as a district attorney, Attorney General of the great state of California, a United States Senator, and Vice President of the United States.
Yep, she's got a long list of accomplishments, unlike Donald Trump. Let me rephrase. A long list of accomplishments within government. Donald Trump's only claim to fame is that he rallied people up into a blood frenzy enough to win the presidency. In my opinion, that's about it. Quick interjection, this won't take long, I promise. I'd appreciate it if you watched to the end of the video, or at least a couple extra seconds, because YouTube bases its algorithm off of watch time. The more watch time a video has, the further the video will go. Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I'm selling my book, Understanding Jehovah's Witnesses, 400 pages, and my second book, 100 Questions for Jehovah's Witnesses, which is about 80 pages. And you can find them both there on the website. Audio form, ebook form, whatever. It's about my experiences within the religion, and the history of the religion generally. The 100 questions are intended to challenge your religious leader, so I'd appreciate it if you give it a read. Okay, back to the video.
Vice President Harris has fought on the side of the American people. She took on the predators, she took on the fraudsters, she took down the transnational gangs, she stood up against powerful corporate interests, and she never...
Okay, this is populism. It's interesting he's choosing to go down this path. I'm not sure how I feel.
hesitated to reach across the aisle if it meant improving people's lives. And I want all of you to hold this, and don't ever underestimate the power of this. She does it all with a sense of joy. I know a little something about that commitment to people. I was born in West Point, Nebraska. I lived
West Point, interesting, okay.
in Butte, a small town of 400, where community was a way of life. Growing up, I spent the summers working on the family farm. My mom and dad taught us, show generosity towards your neighbors and work for a common good.
I mean, it seems so obvious, but we're not in obvious land anymore. We have left obvious land.
My dad served in the Army during the Korean War. And with his encouragement, at 17, I joined the Army National Guard.
He says, I'm sorry, the Brat Prince, they have to speak a little populism, as it'll bring in the voters who are right normally but don't want to vote Trump. Yeah, I agree. You're right. I'm not a fan of that kind of populism, though. Oh my god, dude. I forgot how fucking annoying this part of the game is. Gah! I'm not doing this again. No, I'm not. I'm not doing it again. I'm gonna lose my shit right over here. I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna go bananas. I'm okay. I'm not going bananas.
For 24 years, I proudly wore the uniform of this nation.
Wow, he's a public educator, and he was in the military. That's super interesting.
The National Guard gave me purpose. It gave me the strength of
National Guard.
a shared commitment to something greater than ourselves. And just as it did for my dad and millions of others, the GI Bill gave me a shot at a college education. My dad was a teacher. My brothers and sisters and I followed in their footsteps. 3 out of 4 of us married teachers. What we do.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the point. Teacher's hot? Is that what like he's trying to communicate? I don't know.
For nearly 20 years, I had the privilege of teaching high school social studies and coaching football.
Oh, he's that guy. Okay, yeah. The coach at school always has to teach something. So the coach is always the history teacher, the civics teacher, the social studies teacher, something like that, because it's easiest to follow like a lesson plan with that, seems to me. I mean, maybe I'm offending some people, but it seems like you've got to have like a lot of knowledge to teach a math class, for example. Like you've got to understand geometry like the back of your hand. And I don't know about you, but I don't understand geometry that well. Certainly not well enough to teach it. But social studies, I could go through a lesson plan and probably teach that.
Including winning that state championship. So thank you. Don't ever close the yearbook. Don't ever. But it was my students. They encouraged me to run for office. They saw in me what I was hoping to instill in them, a commitment of common good, a belief that one person can make a difference. So in 2006, I took a leap and I ran for Congress.
I thought he ran for governor first.
And because high school teachers are super optimistic, I was running in a district that had one Democrat since 1892.
Yeah, I knew about that. He unseated a governor when he finally like ran, and it was like a total upheaval. It was crazy.
Well, my neighbors graced me with an opportunity to represent them in the United States House of Representatives. I'm proud of the work we did there together. I worked across the aisle on veterans issues, on agriculture, and on ways to grow rural economies. I learned the art of compromise without compromising my values.
Okay, I can appreciate that.
And now, as governor of the great state of Minnesota, I bring those experiences to bear in tackling the challenges that are facing our great state. Minnesota's strength comes from our values, our commitment to working together, to seeing past our differences, to always being willing to lend a helping hand. Those are the same values I learned on the family farm and tried to instill in my students. I took it to Congress and to the state capitol, and now Vice President Harris and I are running to take those very values to the White House.
Okay, I'm excited. Yay. All right, let's see what he can do.
Now, Donald Trump sees the world a little differently than us.
Oh boy, he's getting booze. You know what's so funny? I believe, I could be wrong. I'm not sure if it was this one or not, but there was a rally that Harris held recently that was like in the same place that Donald Trump held it. And she very clearly had the stadium filled with way more people than Trump did. She had way more attendees. And Trump tried to like claim otherwise, just like an absurd individual.
First of all, he doesn't know the first thing about service. He doesn't have time for it because he's too busy serving himself.
Agreed.
Again.
And he says, that's what you need. You need somebody who's selfish, who understands how to be a total scumbag in business. No.
Again and again and again, Trump weakens our economy to strengthen his own hand.
I agree.
He mocks our laws. He sows chaos and division. And that's to say nothing of his record as president.
I agree. Absolutely.
He froze in the face of the COVID crisis. He drove our economy into the ground. And make no mistake, violent crime was up under Donald Trump.
Yeah, a lot of people just like mistakenly believe that that like unemployment numbers are different than they actually are. It's bizarre. It's like some people think we're dealing with historic unemployment when it's literally the exact opposite of that. We're dealing with very low unemployment. It's wild to me that not only, it's like we live in two different worlds. It's not just that. It's like we're operating off two different sets of like information, two different data sets completely. Like, where did they get that information? Who told them that? And why did they believe it without question?
That's not even counting the crimes he committed.
That's funny. Like, I don't know what unemployment numbers are now, but a little while back, Republicans famously claimed that unemployment numbers were really bad. And they may be like, I don't know, maybe they're bad now, who knows? But at the time, we were just working off two separate sets of facts, bizarrely.
You know, some of us are.
Lock him up. That's super interesting. I was so opposed to the lock her up, like, narrative or calls or whatever at rallies, because she hadn't really done anything wrong. She hadn't, like, gone through any trials that proved that she committed any kind of crimes or whatever, but they were calling for locking up political opponents anyway. However, Trump has committed crimes, and we know he's committed crimes beyond a shadow of a doubt. It was proven by a jury of his peers. So I'm okay with the chance of lock him up now.
Some of us in here are old enough to remember. I see you down there. I see those
That's funny.
old white guys. Some of us are old enough to remember when it was Republicans who were talking about freedom. It turns out now what they meant was the government should be free to invade your doctor's office.
And stuff, yeah.
In Minnesota, we respect our neighbors and their personal choices that they make. Even if we wouldn't make the same choice for ourselves, there's a golden rule. Mind your own damn business.
Yes, oh my God, I love everything about it. Dude, that is such a fantastic catchphrase. Seriously, mind your own damn business. I love that. That is the shit.
These guys are after my heart chanting, mind your own damn business. That feels good, so thank you. Look, that includes IVF, and this gets personal for me and my family. When my wife and I decided to have children, we spent years going through infertility treatments. And I remember praying
Wow, did he have IVF treatments?
every night for a call for good news. The pit in my stomach when the phone rang, and the agony when we heard that the treatments hadn't worked. So it wasn't by chance that when we welcomed our daughter into the world, we named her Hope.
Well, that's nice.
When Vice President and I talk about freedom, we mean the freedom to make your own healthcare decisions.
Like, it's wild to me that, like, in 2016, there was no enthusiasm for Hillary. None. People did not like her. They didn't want anything to do with her. When I kill Kraid, I'm supposed to get the Varia suit. Why don't I have that? Am I supposed to go back? What happened? I feel like I missed something important. But anyway, nobody liked Hillary. Nobody wanted anything to do with her, really. They were only voting for her because they didn't like Trump, and that just did not work out in the end. There seems to be so much enthusiasm for Kamala Harris. I didn't have any idea who Tim Kaine was, and at the time I was like, why the hell are we even, like, why'd she pick Tim Kaine? Nobody knows him. Nobody likes him. I don't get it. No one knew or liked Tim Walz like a week ago either, but they're crazy about him now, me included. I mean, I think he's a great guy, seems to me. I wonder, like, why? Is it because Republicans haven't had the time to build a propaganda machine against Tim Walz or Kamala Harris yet? Is that what it is?
And for our children to be free to go to school without worrying they'll be shot dead in their classrooms. By the way, as you heard, I was one of the best shots in Congress, but in Minnesota, we believe in the Second Amendment, but we also believe in common sense gun violence laws. Vice President Harris' idea of freedom is a ticket for education to be that ticket to the middle class, not crippling debt. Air that's clean, water that's pure, communities that are safe. A place where we settle our political differences not through violence, but with our votes. And that's what this election's about. What direction will this country go in? He's not going back. Well, Donald Trump would damn sure take us backwards. Let's be clear about that. And don't believe him when he plays dumb. He knows exactly what Project 2025 will do to restrict our freedoms.
Oh, yeah. Trump is not... Yeah, there is no world in which he doesn't know about all of this stuff. He knows about QAnon. He knows about Project 2025 and all of this shit. He knows. Look, I understand that the Supreme Court, interpreted the Second Amendment to mean, we have a right to own weapons or whatever, like everybody does. But that's not what it means. And Democrats have, not fought that perception because Roe v. Wade was, decided our way on the left. So we keep Roe v. Wade, they keep the Second Amendment, basically, is kind of how it's been. But they took Roe v. Wade, like the Supreme Court did. So since we're talking about it, the Second Amendment says, necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the... Wait, let me find it. Second Amendment, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Well-regulated. Militia. Those are the key words here that people have just forgotten. Or ignored. I don't know which. Well-regulated militia. There's nothing well-regulated about our current state of, guns. And also, the purpose behind it in the first place was so that we could build slave patrols. So individual states could build slave patrols. And you know what? We have that right now. We have a well-regulated militia necessary to the security of a free state or whatever. It's called the National Guard. It's been around for a long time. It doesn't mean every individual person. That's like a bizarre, ass-backward, libertarian interpretation that does not represent reality at all. But okay, let's continue on with Walz here.
To rig the economy to help the super rich. If Trump gets a chance to return, he's going to pick up exactly where he left off 4 years ago. Only this time, it will be much, much worse. Raising
I agree.
Costs on middle-class family. He will repeal the Affordable Care Act, no doubt about it.
Obamacare, yeah. I'm sure of it.
He'll gut Social Security and Medicare. And when somebody tells you they believe him. He said he'd ban abortion across this country, and he'll do it, whether or not Congress is there or not.
Yeah, I agree. He's going to use executive orders to do that. Oh, dude, I didn't know I could jump in a spring ball now. He's going to use executive orders to do it, and the Supreme Court is going to allow it. Trump, there are checks and balances in place in the United States to make sure that no one person has too much power. The checks and balances fall apart when they all agree with with each other on stuff. Like when they will capitulate or do whatever the other person wants, the checks and balances fall apart, and that's what's happening right now. We are watching checks and balances fall apart. If Trump gets into office, he can pass executive orders. The check on executive orders is the Supreme Court. They can determine if the president is allowed to do this or whatever. The Supreme Court has been chosen by Donald Trump. Anything Trump pushes through, anything, will be backed up by the Supreme Court, I'm sure of it. So it's not even about Congress agreeing or disagreeing or whatever they're thinking. It's not about that. We don't even need to have or we can have Congress. That's not the issue. The issue is the Supreme Court and Trump controlling the Supreme Court. It's about as disturbing as it gets, for real.
Donald Trump's not fighting for you or your family. He never sat at that kitchen table like the one I grew up at, wondering how we were going to pay the bills. He set his country club up in Mar-a-Lago, wondering how he can cut taxes for his rich friends.
It's true.
And I got to tell you, his running mate shares his dangerous and backward agenda for this country. JD Vance literally wrote the foreword for the architect of the Project 2025 agenda.
Really?
Like all regular people I grew up with in the heartland, JD studied at Yale, had his career funded by Silicon Valley billionaires, and then wrote a bestseller trashing that community. Come on! That's
right, hillbilly elegy.
not what middle America is. And I got to tell you, I can't wait to debate the guy. That is, if he's willing to get off the couch and show up. So
That's funny. I like that.
you see what I did there? Look. I got to tell you, pointing out just an observation of mine that I made. I just have to.
Again, like that couch thing, that's not real. He didn't do that. He did not sleep with the couch. That was just fabricated. But yeah.
Say it. You know it. You feel it. These guys are creepy, and yes, just weird as hell. That's what you see. That's what you see. So you know what's out there, so say it with me. We aren't going back. We aren't going back. We are not going back. So we got 91 days. My God, that's easy. We'll sleep when we're dead.
I love that saying. I say that sometimes.
Over those next 91 days and every day in the White House, I'll have Vice President Harris's back. Every single day. And we'll have yours. You know how this works. We can't do it alone. We need you, each and every one of you. Go over to KamalaHarris.com, get on board, because we need you. Freedom to make our own choices. This leader, this compassionate, careful, joyous leader, believes in each and every one of you. My God, you came here tonight to sit at the very top because you love this country and you're not going back. She believes in the opportunity for every single person to join the middle class. She believes in the promise of America. We just got to fight. We just got to fight. Because as soon-to-be President Harris says, when we fight, we win.
I don't remember how to get past this thing, but I totally agree. We need some enthusiasm. We need people to fight, to battle, to do whatever it takes. Yeah, the Supreme Court is in Republican extremists' control, and that's very disappointing. But we can beat this. We can continue on. We can fix these problems. They are fixable. We just have to not give up. Anyway, it looks like that's the end. Yeah, tell me what you think about it in the comments. Dude seems pretty legit to me. We'll see how he does with a general voting base.